boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Can we just cut straight to Chris Eubank Jr. versus Frank Warren? Frank Warren looked like he wanted to. His face
ain't gonna do shit. I'll tell you what. So Chris, boom, mic drop. Chris only did what every fighter that's been upset with a promoter or manager has wanted to do, but couldn't do it because they didn't have the bottle. And so Chris, when he did it, even if he's wrong or right in what he said, did it. Now I'm quite sure there's fighters out there, past and present, like, Ross, good on you.
You know what I mean? Even the ones who Chris doesn't get on with, like Tony Bellew. Go back to the 80s, Terry Marsh, Ricky Hatton, Curtis Woodhouse. And that's just a few. He's got a situation with Anthony Yarde right now. But with all the prying eyes and social media, it's a different time. You know what I mean? So he's tried to play this one with Yarde a little different. He's been on camera several times, saying, I'll talk with Anthony, I want to talk with him. Before, he wouldn't have spoke about a reconciliation. He would have had his gun cocked, ready to go, straight to the lawsuit. But like I said, it's bad for business, because fighters see that, and they're saying, I ain't signing with this guy. When he started breaking Ricky Burns in the court, there was the stage Ricky had £200 in his bank account, and he was a multiple weight champion at this time. Ricky had to pay over 400 grand in damages. Frank won big, but the judge had to stop Frank. Frank wanted 2 million from Ricky. Where's Ricky supposed to get 2 million pounds, man? Funnily enough, Johnny Nelson used to be promoted by Frank Warren himself when he was WBO champion back in the day. And you could see he was taking pleasure from what Chris had to say. Frank also took Herbie Hyde to the cleaners in 2009 when Herbie Hyde spoke to Steve Bunce on Santanta. Herbie told Steve Bunce that Frank Warren coerced Johnny Nelson to give up his WBO cruiserweight title so Enzo Macronelli could inherit it. And Frank took Herbie to the cleaners for 35 grand, which I'm sure Herbie never had spare at the time. When Eddie Hearn got on the scene in 2012, he benefited heavily from Frank's reputation as Frank the Rip, taking everybody to the cleaners. Ricky Burns went over to Matchroom from Queensbury. Tony Bellew went over there. You look at Ricky Hatton. He didn't sign to Matchroom, but he didn't send Campbell over to Queensbury. He sent him to Matchroom. He won the world title with Frank. Ricky alleged that Frank tried to make him fight while he was injured. Terry Marsh, former IBF light welterweight champion, also alleged that Frank tried to make him take a fight when he was diagnosed with epilepsy whilst being world champion. And obviously, Terry never fought again. Got epilepsy. Like I said yesterday, yeah, Chris is right. Promoters are scumbags. They are scumbags. I get why people are cheering Chris on. I do get it. But at the same time, if this is true, Spencer Brown on the offer worth more than $5 million to Eubank Jr., and I'm assuming that's pounds, for a HAMZA SHEERAZ fight. Spencer says that's true. That offer was made by Turki Al Sheikh through Ben Shalom, and it never came to fruition. Eubank didn't want the fight at IFL TV. Well, if it's a lie, Eubank, do a Frank Warren and sue Spencer Brown. If he's lying, sue him. This is free money. But the truth is, Chris swerved HAMZA SHEERAZ when I initially thought that Chris asked for $5 million to fight HAMZA SHEERAZ and he priced himself out of the fight. But no, he was actually offered the $5 million. That's why I can't take his outbursts seriously. Chris is trying to fleece Ben Shalom because he sees him as an easy target, a sucker, compared to the likes of Frank and Eddie Hearn, who's not going to let him get away with ducking good fights, demanding huge purses for crap fights.
Where were you in the race for Chris Eubank Jr., which has now been won by Ben Shalom?
I mean, we had a conversation, not myself, but I think Frank Smith spoke as a team. As I understand it, he wanted 2 gimme fights to come back to. He's been inactive for a long time. He's been out for a year. So we wanted to give him 1 fight and then fight Conor Benn, but he wanted 2 fights. So they messaged Frank, I think, last night just to say, look, we're going to do these 2 fights and then we'd like to fight Conor Benn. So we'll keep that communication open, but I guess he'll return in those 2 easy fights, August, September, and then December.
He's buttering up Ben Shalom. Oh, you're a great guy and this, that. Dude, Ben Shalom has ruined Sky Sports boxing, pulling fighters out of purse bids and making them avoid real fights. The only reason Chris has gone to Ben Shalom, the Sowlands, Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren are not going to take some of the shit he's trying to get away with. You turn down $5 million for a HAMZA SHEERAZ fight? Chris is with Ben Shalom because no promoter will tolerate him.
Why boxer? Because every other promoter out here is a scumbag.
You're saying all that. You was offered $5 million. Yeah? $5 million to fight somebody in the same weight class as you. They didn't ask you to fight a heavyweight or a light heavy, and you swerved it.
What can you tell us about the HAMZA SHEERAZ offer, the $5 million that was made to Eubank?
That's true.
Yeah.
It's not bullshit, that's true. And that offer was made by Turkey Al Sheikh.
Boxing
beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Naseem Hamed. You know, the British press and the media really disliked Naseem Hamed, and he just kept winning, and they'd say this guy's a bum, this guy's too old, this guy's this guy's that. 20,000, 18,000 in venues. He does not an attraction. When he get beat by Marco Antonio Barrera in Las Vegas after the most horrendous camp in history, members of the British press, newspaper press, this is at that time, were giving each other high fives. 65-year-old men were high-fiving each other in celebration that little Naz had lost, and literally saying, I told you he couldn't fight. It was about his 34th fight. He was unbeaten. Go figure.
Now, let me just fill in the blank. Some of you will know this, but some won't. So, Steve Bunce obviously didn't want to say Colin Hart's name, but that's who he was talking about. Colin Hart would have been around 65, around 2001, when a 27-year-old Prince Naseem Hamed, 35-0 with 31 knockouts, lost a unanimous decision to Hall of Famer, not just a regular fighter, Marco Antonio Barrera in Las Vegas. And the press from that said, I told you he couldn't fight. And that's Colin Hart. Bunsey didn't want to say his name, but I'll put it out there. Colin Hart and other members of the British press were celebrating in Las Vegas. Now, Naseem was like Marmite. You either took to his brash, arrogant, showboating, trash talking, or you didn't. But one thing he could do, he could fight. Imagine that, a British journalist assigned by the newspaper to cover this British world champion fighting in Las Vegas, and he loses on points. Was thoroughly beaten, but he never gave up. Loses on points, and then you're celebrating. Told you he wasn't a good fighter, throwing up high fives with other members of the British press. And he's still out there covering boxing. Colin Hart, scumbag of the day. And he and Naseem had history before the Barrera fight. I'll leave you with this little jewel. This was a media event for the Wayne McCullough fight.
You are one of the worst journalists I've ever come across. You want to know why, Colin? Just don't speak. Let me just carry on. You know what your opinion means? You know what your opinion means? Your opinion. It's obviously got to you. Whoa. It's obviously got to you. Because you're writing about me. If I wrote about you, Colin, I don't think you'd like it. Yeah. And I'm speaking to you from my heart. I don't like you. I don't like you, Colin. Well, you're a fool.
Dazn faces lawsuit for charging renewal fees without consent. Now, this is in America. The streaming service is facing a proposed class action lawsuit in California. The 32-page suit claims that the streaming service has charged renewal fees without viewers consenting to the charges. According to an article from Class Action Org, Matthew Brown of Brunch Boxing brought this story to Boxing Scene's attention. If the lawsuit's allegations are proven, the fees would be in violation of California's automatic renewal law. The suit adds that online retailers in the state must highlight extension terms in a clear and conspicuous manner, as well as obtain permission from customers before their accounts are charged with subscription renewal fees. It also states the terms surrounding automatic renewals must include an easy option for account cancellations. The suit claims Dazn systematically violates the California automatic renewal law, and that the streamer makes it exceedingly difficult and unnecessarily confusing for those who are wishing to cancel their subscription. The confusion alleges the suit has already resulted in accidental or unintentional sign-ups courtesy of apparent dark patterns on the site. The case added that the defendant's conduct had drawn the attention and ire of customers across the country, with countless angry customers taking to the internet to voice their discontent over the defendant's deceitful tactics. Now, when did I purchase Dazn? It's been a few years, coming up to 5 years now. And I've never deleted, but I've heard a few people have had issues trying to cancel their subscription. And you have to ask why they're shooting themselves in the foot like this. One of the issues I used to have was the lagging on the stream. And sometimes actually not getting the stream, actually quite often, the stream not playing in real time. They've improved that. I still think they could improve. But why are they so desperate to force you into subscribing? That's just going to make people run away from the stream. Surely the best way is to make it easy and simple that they can leave. If they decide to come back, they won't be thinking, well, look at all the aggravation I had last time trying to get off it. Doesn't make sense. The lawsuit alone is really bad publicity. And if they lose it...
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better. Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one can do it better.
Lomachenko is on the one fight a year diet right now. 2022 controversial win over Jermaine Ortiz. 2023 controversial loss against Devin Haney for the undisputed 135-pound titles. And this year he stopped George Kambosos in the 11th for the vacant IBF world title. He avoided Shakur Stevenson last year, and he's avoided Tank Davis this year. Not to have a go at him, but we've got to lay down the facts. So keeping in tune with the one fight a year diet, it's being said he'll be back next year to defend his IBF title. And Anthony CACACE, the current IBF super featherweight champion, could be elevated into the mandatory position at 135 to take on the IBF 135-pound champion Lomachenko. Lomachenko is selecting his opponents carefully right now, so the rumour has probably more reality to it than not. CACACE has had a very good year, taking out Joe Cordina in May for the IBF strap and then defending against Josh Warrington in September on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Daniel Dubois. CACACE really wants this Lomachenko fight. Obviously, he wants to be a two-weight champion, no doubt about that. But I think Frank Warren and CACACE would like to get mandated before Matchroom's Eduardo Sugar Nunez gets mandated to face him for that super featherweight title. Nunez from Mexico, 27-1, 27 inside the distance, has already missed out on his title challenge. Hopefully he got some step-aside bread so Josh Warrington could sell his 10,000 tickets and contribute to that 96,000 crowd we saw the other day at Wembley Stadium. But now the jig is up. If CACACE wants to hold on to that strap, he has until March the 21st to get that defense against Nunez done. Matchroom, they're on it. Time is ticking. Sugar Nunez is ready. He congratulates CACACE for winning the title. You achieved your objective, and so did I. It's time to put our cards on the table and take care of business. Everyone knows the next step is CACACE versus Nunez. I hope our fight will be made soon. Well, I'm backing Nunez to win that, and CACACE will be hoping that 135 mandate comes through to face Lomachenko, because it's probably a fight that will motivate him more. You know what I'm saying? Like, Lomachenko will have more to lose than CACACE. CACACE will have it all to gain, and likely it would be a more lucrative purse against the more recognized and known fighter in Lomachenko, one of the best of his generation. CACACE will be hoping to catch Lomachenko on the slide. He's 36, although CACACE is 35 himself. Nunez, 27, is hungry, hits very hard, and is about that life. He can fight and he can box. Queensbury and CACACE will be keen to get the business done with Lomachenko ASAP. I think the likely outcome is Nunez will end up fighting for the vacant strap.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
It's a robbery.
It's a robbery! I don't know about that. It's just a great sound effect, that. Robbery? See, if they scored it a draw, I wouldn't have made a big deal about it. She would have kept her title and I wouldn't have said nothing, but a majority decision in America, what else could you really expect? I kept a rough tab on the fight, talking about how great MIKAELA's boxing was in the early rounds. And she boxed good. It was competitive all throughout. Very good fight. But it was Sandy pushing her on the back foot, hitting her with body shots, had her hurt in the third, a left hook. MIKAELA's legs buckled. She went back into the ropes. In the first round, Tim Bradley and the other co-commentator were going so crazy when MIKAELA landed a right hand. But Sandy ate it and just walked through it. Through the harder shots, stiffer jab, finished strong, and she comes back to the UK without her belt. Bob Arum talking about is not going to let any American fighters fight in Britain after Catterall Taylor to a fight that Catterall clearly won. Not to mention, Josh Taylor is not American. He's from Scotland. And Bob didn't say anything about the first fight. Tim Bradley, shut your bald bias ass up, bruh. Calling out MIKAELA's work and ignoring the counters that came back from Sandy. You and the other co-commentator. Disgrace. And I had a feeling this was going to happen when Sandy went across there. I had a feeling. Now, you can counter by saying that MIKAELA was hard done by when she'd been over here, but one of them was against an American fighter, right? And the Natasha Jonas fight, MIKAELA definitely won that. But Sandy won this fight. Robbery, it was close, especially on away soil. But I had a feeling this was going to happen. I was wondering why Eddie sent her over there. You know what I mean? When there was always the thought that this could be contentious. And if it's contentious, Sandy's likely not to get the verdict. The WBO belt's gone. If I sound pissed, it's because I am a little pissed. And then you had the temerity to throw paint on Sandy as she was entering the MSG, MIKAELA, and then claim you don't know nothing about it. I don't like MIKAELA Mile. And Sandy said it did throw her off her game. That didn't look like it in the ring. She should definitely be back in the UK with her belt. I felt the commentary overinflated MIKAELA's boxing, and it was very good, but they ignored a lot of Sandy's work, unfortunately. But it's done, it's done. It's not an unreasonable hometown decision. Hopefully they can do it again. It's a really good fight. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. Very good fight.
It's a robbery.